In the cool valleys of the northern world, a climbing vine wakes each spring and races toward the sun. It can grow more than 6 inches in a single day, twisting clockwise around any support it finds, reaching heights of 20 feet or more before midsummer. This is the hop, a plant whose small green cones have shaped human taste, trade, and ceremony for over 1,000 years. Few people who raise a glass of beer ever picture the field it began in. Yet without this restless vine, the drink the world knows would not exist. The hop is botanically named Humulus lupulus, the wolf of the woods, a wild cousin of cannabis that once scrambled freely through the hedgerows of Europe and Asia. Its earliest use was not for beer at all. Monks and herbalists valued it as a medicine and a calming herb, and its young shoots were eaten in spring like asparagus. The plant grew where rivers ran and soil stayed moist, and for centuries it remained a quiet presence at the edge of cultivation. The turning point came in the medieval monasteries of Central Europe. Brewers had long flavored and preserved their ale with a shifting mixture of herbs, but these brews spoiled quickly and tasted wildly different from one batch to the next. Then someone discovered that the resins inside the hop cone did something remarkable. They made beer bitter, balancing the sweetness of the malt, and they fought the bacteria that turned good ale sour. Beer brewed with hops lasted longer, traveled farther, and tasted cleaner. By the 9th century, written records describe hop gardens tended for this very purpose, and the humble vine began its rise. As the centuries passed, hops spread across the continent and changed the economics of brewing itself. Because hopped beer kept well, it could be made in quantity, shipped down rivers, and sold in distant towns. Whole regions built their fortunes on it. The fields of Bavaria, Bohemia, Kent in England, and later the river valleys of the American Northwest became famous for the quality of their cones. Each region's soil and climate gave its hops a distinct character, much as wine takes on the signature of its land. Growing hops has always been demanding work. The plant is a perennial, sending up new vines each year from a permanent underground root called a rhizome. Farmers train the young shoots onto tall strings strung from overhead wires, guiding them upward by hand in the early weeks of spring. Through the long days of summer, the vines climb and flower, producing the papery green cones that hold the prized resins and oils. The plant drinks deeply, demanding steady water, rich ground, and careful attention to the pests and mildews that can ruin a harvest. Then comes the reckoning of late summer. Traditionally, entire families and bands of seasonal workers descended on the hop fields to strip the cones by hand, a labor so vast that it shaped the rhythm of rural life. In England, generations of city families spent their holidays picking hops in the countryside. Today, great machines cut the vines and separate the cones, and the harvest is dried in kilns called osthouses, their distinctive cone-shaped roofs still standing across the old growing regions. The dried hops are pressed into bales or ground into pellets, ready to flavor beer around the globe. In the world today, hops remain a small but vital crop. Only a handful of countries produce most of the global supply, led by Germany and the United States, where the Yakima Valley alone grows a remarkable share of the world total. Modern breeders have created hundreds of varieties, each prized for particular aromas of citrus, pine, flowers, or spice. The recent explosion of craft brewing has turned these once obscure names into the language of enthusiasts, and farmers have raced to plant the varieties that drinkers crave. A crop that began as a wild weed at the forest edge now anchors a global industry worth billions. From a fast-climbing vine to the bitter heart of the world's most popular alcoholic drink, the hop has traveled a long and unlikely road. It reminds us that the flavors we take for granted are rooted in soil, sunlight, and the patient hands of those who tend the fields.